everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video. This is actually one someone asked me for quite a while ago, and I was going back through and planning my videos for September and I realized that I didn't do this one yet, so I thought I would do it today. You'll also notice, if you are a regular here, maybe you're not, but I usually put up my weekly wrap up today. Well, since it's the Labor Day holiday, I'm actually on vacation. I'm in Montana right now. Me and some of my friends are going out there to enjoy it, so my reading wrap up won't be going up until Tuesday, which is much later than I would normally want it to, but I thought I would just do some recommendations anyway, because you guys love those. And today, as you can tell by the title, we're doing One Night Stand. So I found quite a bit for this. This is a really popular trope for contemporary romance, but there are a few historical romances that fit into this too. And so I thought I would start with two historical romances that I have for One Night Stand, just in case you're one of my pals who is either recently getting into historical romance or already loves it. Maybe you didn't think of these as one night stands, but I thought I would bring them up. So the first one I want to talk about, I actually just read last month, and that's Suddenly You by Lisa Kleypas. This book is so cute. Oh my word. I always love Lisa Kleypas. She rarely lets me down. I think out of 20 of her books I've read so far, there's only been one that was less than 4 stars. And this one is adorable. So this one doesn't, actually both of my historical romances don't have a complete one night stand to them, but it definitely fits the trope of it. So for this we have Amanda Byers, and she's actually an author, and it's her 30th birthday. So she's definitely considered a spinster, and she's still a virgin, and she decides, gosh darn it, I'm an independent woman. I've been, making my way in society on my own. I want to have some pleasure. So she goes to a brothel to meet with the madam and asks to have a gigolo sent to her house. Asked to have a male escort sent to her house. And she's super nervous about it. And the madam, who is she's a reoccurring character in Lisa Kleypas's books. And this madam, knowing that a full-on escort is not who should be sent to Amanda's, she sends one of her friends, who's actually a publisher, who is looking to republish one of Amanda's books, because when it was first released, people didn't appreciate it the way that they should, and now that she's become a little more well-known, anyway, whatever, reasons. I have way too many books on the list to do full deep dives like I normally want to, which is going to be hard for me. We'll see if I can do it. And anyway, so this madam sends over Jack Devlin. Jack doesn't know why he's being sent there, except that, his madam friend is sending him there. He also publishes books for her. He's not just a regular guest at her brothel, although I'm sure he does that sometimes too. And so Amanda, he gets there and she freaks out and is actually like, nope, I can't do this. He gets why he got sent here and thinks of his friend and is like, really? You set me up for this? So he doesn't have sex with her, but he does give her an orgasm and kiss her a little bit. And then he leaves. And then she runs into him a couple weeks later at a soiree and finds out who he is. And this story is amazing. It's so cute. I loved that these ones used to have the fun titles. This one says The Most Sensual Romance of the Year. I bought this one on, I don't know if this one's available on Audible Escape, but I did listen to it, which is fun. I've had fun listening to some of her books too. But anyway, this is a historical one night stand. And then the other historical one night stand I have to show you is Falling into Bed with the Duke by Lorraine Heath. We got to step back on this one. Look at that green. I love that green. So this is the start of the Hellions of Havisham trilogy by Lorraine Heath, which is wonderful. Every one of the books is completely different from any other historical you've read. It's powerful. They'll maybe make you cry a little bit, and they're all really bold. This one also involves a spinster who, after 6 unsuccessful seasons, try to say that 5, 3, 4 times fast, she decides also that she wants to lose her virginity. This is a popular thing, not just in historical romance either, of course. And so she hears about the Nightingale Club. Now, this is an amazing club. This is a club where the women get to have all the anonymity because it is run by women for women. And so men can be members, but they can't try to find out who the woman is they're with. If they try to pressure a woman or, you know, make any moves on her that is not wanted, they're not welcome. The women make the first move. So Minerva goes to this and she ends up choosing a lover. She's wearing a mask. And then she ends up alone in a room with the Duke of Ashbury, who's more than willing to satisfy her. And he is actually a photographer. And one of the things that he does is he will, you know, pleasure this woman who picks him. And then he will ask to take pictures of her hands and feet because he likes how the light looks off of them. And it's really new for the time. I think this one is a Victorian. Yes, this is a Victorian. And oh, it's just so much fun. And so when he finds out she's a virgin, because she lets that slip, he's like, well, I'm not going to take your virginity because I don't feel right about that. But then when she comes another night to find someone who will, of course, he doesn't want anyone else to do it either, but he agrees to pleasure her and, you know, starts to fall for her without ever having seen her face. And the thing is she's not a poor woman. Like, fortune hunters have been after her because her father's not a duke or a lord or anything, but he's very wealthy. And so there's a lot of, you know, upper class men who want her because they want her for the money because her family is like a maid family, which is, you know, people are snobs. And the thing is, the Duke of Ashbury, he needs someone who has a lot of money. And so it's one of those things where it's like, he has to wait for an heiress, but he's falling in love with an heiress and doesn't know it. So this one's really cute. I consider this one a one-night stand as well, even though there's not full-on sex the first time. There's definitely that same feeling like you'd get from a contemporary. Okay, let us get going through these, you guys. I'm horrible. Because, you know, what would I talk about a one-night stand without talking about my favorite, which is The Takeover by T.L. Swan. Actually, both The Stopover and The Takeover work for this. The Stopover is the first one in the Miles High Club, which is these two people, they literally get a stopover because of a storm and they end up sharing a hotel room. And then a year later, she ends up becoming his employee. It's fine. It's great. It's cute. The real gem in this series is The Takeover. I have not been done wrong yet, okay? I have recommended this book to so many people. It just came out October. It's not October yet. It just came out August 25th. But I read an arc of it at the beginning of October and of August, and I talk about it every chance that I get, and I'm talking about it again here. This is about Tristan and Claire. They are, well, Tristan's the love of my life. Claire is great too. She's great, but she's made better by them together. They both are. But this is also a widow romance. This is a single woman romance. This is a older woman romance. She's only 4 years older, but it's kind of a big deal to her because she already has 3 kids and she loved her husband. And there's so much stuck in her head about the fact that am I being disloyal for loving someone new and letting someone new love my kids? That's not their dad, and a lot. But this is a one-night stand of they have met each other before and they kind of became enemies. It's funny to me because it's mostly Claire who makes them enemies. Tristan's really into her right from the beginning. And then they meet up at an international conference in France, a business conference, and they end up having like a one-night stand that leads into a weekend that leads into I really want to date you. And it's amazing. This is so good. And I love this because this is one of her, like, I feel like this is a traditionally published one because when I ordered this, I thought I would be getting a self-published paperback and I didn't. This is actually one of hers done through, but I think it's still one of Amazon's. Yeah, because it's an Amazon, but it's not like the regular self-published paperback. It's beautiful. T.L. Swan is Australian, by the way. I love T.L. Swan. I also have one more T.L. Swan to talk about. So I'm going to mention that one too before I move on. There's also Dr. Stanton by T.L. Swan. This fits into her Stanton series, but you can read this one on its own better than you can the other ones, because the rest of them in the series, they're like, oh, they're standalones, and it's like, yeah, but they still take place through a timeline, whereas Dr. Stanton, you don't have to like know the other characters. But if you read like Gym Junkie or anyway, whatever, we're not talking about that. Dr. Stanton is there's a weekend in Vegas, and this woman is there, and there's this creep hitting on her. So she pretends to be married to, I think his name is, let me find it, to Cam Stanton, who's a doctor, and he like goes along with it, and they end up having a really hot weekend in Vegas. And then for some reason they don't end up with each other's contact information. I think like something gets stolen. I think her phone gets stolen, and so she loses his number, and she can't find him, and she has his baby. Like, I'll be honest about it. This is a secret baby. And I don't like those, but this one had kind of extenuating circumstances a little bit. And then it is many years later, like I think it's 5 or 6 or something years later, and oof, this book tackles a lot of uncomfortable things. You may get super mad at Cam partway through it, but the great thing about T.L. Swan is that the emotion she puts into something, they're real. And what hurts you is that you understand that this isn't just miscommunication that they're going through. This is, how do you overcome your emotions when they hurt so much? That's the way Our Way is for me. That's the way the Stanton series is for me. Dr. Stanton does this. The Takeover does that too. She makes you feel the emotions in their head so well that when they act a certain way, and even if it seems like ridiculous to you and you just want them to move on with it, you understand where they're coming from. And so it hurts and you just want to slap them, but you're also like, but I'm probably react the same way, and that's why this hurts me so much. So I love T.L. Swan. Let us keep going. Let's talk about The Hookup real quick by Kristen Callahan. So this one is a college. I would consider this new adult for sure. This is about Drew and Anna, and they just get off on the wrong foot. He's a football quarterback. She is a super smart girl, and they have this insane sexual chemistry, and she has trust issues, and he's looking for a relationship, and she's not, and she can't understand why this football jock doesn't just want to have sex with her and move on. And so after she gives in and they have a one-night stand, she, makes these cuddling rules and like don't spend the night rules, and it's funny to see that on the other end of it. And it's not like Anna's a rake. She's not a player. It's not those kind of rules. And Drew is just falling deeper and deeper for her, and she is continually keeping him at arm's length. And Drew is just like, what do I have to do to prove to you that I'm not going to leave? And I love it. Kristen Callahan writes such good books. I love the entire Game On series. And they get more, like this is the only one that takes place during college, I think. Because all the rest of them, well, there might be one more that's in college. The next one might be in college too. But then they're out of college for the rest of them. They're so good. I love these crazy kids. They make me so happy. There's also The Friend Zone, The Game Plan, and I can't remember what the last one is, but I love this series. Then I have Pucked by Helena Hunting. This is another sports romance. You probably heard about this one before, but I love it. This is hilarious. It's almost too hilarious. Like, they're literally like, I know there's literally slapstick humor in some of this. It's super sexual, and the characters, particularly Violet, okay? Like, I love Violet. This book gave me the giggles, and I love that. I love that it can be so sexy and hot, and then on the flip of a coin, just make me snort with laughter. And that's really what Violet is like. And so Violet, her stepbrother, is an NHL player. He's a hockey player. And the captain of his team is Alex Waters. And they end up all staying at the same hotel because her family flies in to support Buck at one of his games. And then her and Alex kind of start hitting on each other, and her brother is just like, it's not going to happen. You're not going to sleep with another player because she did that before, and the guy cheated on her, and then her brother beat the shit out of that guy, and then like things happened or whatever. Also, Buck and Violet have a really cool relationship. Like, it starts and you think it's a really, like, it's funny because it almost could have been that this was a stepbrother romance, because Buck used to have a thing for her, because they didn't become step siblings until like their late teens. So there was definitely, he's thought she was hot at different times. So it's funny. I like those two, but that's not where this one goes. And then she ends up getting locked out of her room, and then she comes back to his room with him, and she ends up riding on his big stick, because, yep, he's a big dick boy. That's the thing. Yep. I love Alex. Alex is adorable. All right, then we have Good Time by Janet Aston. I love Janet Aston. This is another one. Her books are very funny. They're all not super long, and most of them are on KU, I believe. This one is about Peyton and what's his name? I think it's Vince. Yeah, Peyton and Vince. And so he's a lawyer, and she is, I don't know what she is, but she ends up him and her in Vegas, and they get super drunk, and they actually get married. And it's funny because they both like pretend to be more drunk than they were, and then they just like never get the divorce. Even though he's a lawyer, he isn't in a hurry for them to get this annulled or divorced or anything. And so from this like one night stand in Vegas, it's that they like get married, and then neither one of them wants it to end in divorce. And it's really cute. Janet Aston's books are so much fun. All of hers do work as standalones. The characters cross over, but it's definitely a standalone series. Whereas like even Pucked, like I think you should read the Pucked series in order, but you don't have to read that one in order. You can just pick that up. And then I have Forever Theirs by Katie Robert. So this series, actually, you should start with Theirs for the Night, which is the novella that comes before this. Which this book, I got a bunch of signed books from Katie Robert. But this is actually a royal romance. This is actually a menage, if you can't tell from the front. And it's also like a bodyguard romance too, all wrapped in one. So we have this girl named Meg, and she is at a club, and these two men are there, Galen and Theo. And Theo is an exiled prince from Thalanian, I can't pronounce it. And him and Galen are best friends, and they fuck sometimes. And they also are both dominants, so they like to have a girl that they can dominate together, since, you know, you don't always like to do that to each other. Sometimes you want, I guess, I say this like I know. This is not my life. But they meet Meg, and they end up taking Meg home, and they know that they can only have one night with her because they don't want to draw attention to her or have anyone notice that they like someone, because she could be in danger then, because there are people watching him. There's a whole big conspiracy happening back home. But they have this one night stand, and then I don't know how long later it is when the first book takes place. So the Theirs for the Night is obviously the novella of them having a good time together that night. And then it is I don't know if it's like 6 months, a year, or whatever. Theo can't stay away anymore. And so he comes back to find Meg again and wants to be in a relationship with her and Galen. And it's really cute. So there's this one, and then there is a sequel, which is this one's Forever Theirs, and then it's like Always Forever is the last one or something. What is it, Katie? Theirs Ever After is the sequel. So those books. Then we have a Mafia One Night Stand. This is The Italian by T.L. Swan. I totally forgot I had another. See, I could talk about T.L. Swan. I could do just a whole series of this. This one is a hefty beast, okay? This is Enrico. I always want to call him Enzo. This is Enrico and Olivia. And they have a one-night stand / weekend fling when she is in Italy. And then she is traveling with her best friend. And so they are finishing their tour in Europe. And then she has some time before she needs to go back to Australia. So she's they plan to meet up again. And while she's gone, Enrico, who at the time is a police officer in Italy, his father and grandfather die in a mob hit, and it turns out, oops, surprise, they were the head of the mob there, and now Enrico's the oldest, and now he needs to be the boss because there's nobody else who can do it because he was his father's only son. So he needs to go from being a straight-laced police officer to taking over the mob, which is in sex trafficking and human trafficking and drug trafficking. And when Olivia comes back through town, all of this has happened during the week, that 2 weeks she was gone. She comes back and he realizes that, wow, I can't be taking on a new relationship because I'll put her in danger and I don't have my head on straight and I can't do this. And so he is really, really mean to her, and she leaves and thinks he's a prick and is like, wow, you ruined that. Okay. I thought I met my soulmate. I guess I didn't. And now it's 2 or 3 years later and he can't stay away from her anymore. His empire is still kind of unstable, but he's very unhappy, and he's going to have to settle down with a nice Italian woman to be his mob queen and have his heirs, but all he wants is Olivia. So he manipulates things to get her brought back to Italy for work. She is a fashion designer, I'm not sure, something like that, and he manipulates it by getting her a really fancy job, and then he basically asked her to be his mistress, which not going to work out that way. But this is amazing. She still hasn't wrote the sequel to this, even though she promised us one. So we'll see if we ever get that. But I love this. This book, T.L. Swan does not hold back. She writes us big, beautiful, gorgeous books. And I love them. I love them. She rips my damn heart out. I love her. All right. What else I got on my list here? All right, so I have Hunter by Stacia Black. This is about Isabelle and Hunter, and so this is part of a series, and it works best if you read it in order. They're all fairy tale retellings. The first one they're very erotic fairy tale retellings, by the way. The first one is A Beauty and the Beast. This one is a Snow White, and the third one is The Ugly Duckling, which is a menage. This one, Hunter and Isabelle, they have a one-night stand, and it's super hot, super great. But she sneaks out on him in the morning, which is hard for him because his ex-wife, well, not his ex-wife, his deceased wife, she also snuck out on him and then died that night. So, a little bit of a hang-up for him. And then Isabelle ends up being the new intern for his veterinary practice. So she tried to sneak out on him after sex and then meets up with him on the first date. And so him not wanting to be involved with anyone, having had his heart broken, now goes from being like the sweetest guy she'd ever met to being kind of a nightmare and kind of a dick and not the nicest guy. But, he's hurt, so it's okay. But also it's really cute, and there's animals, and there's a scene where she helps a cow deliver. And it's funny for 2 reasons. One, because it's gross and funny, because sticking your arm down a cow's ass to turn the cow is not fun. And number 2, my dad used to work at a dairy farm, and he would handle the births when they would happen, and so I've definitely watched this happen. And even not being a veterinary student, I knew exactly what she was doing wrong in the scene, which is the point. Like, she's doing something wrong and he won't tell her because he wants her to learn, and I was like, I know what she's doing wrong, and so it made me feel really smart. But anyway, then I read Heart Inc. by L.L. Ash. This was really cute. L.L. Ash, I'm really starting to like her. She's very underrated. She writes just really fun books. Like, she has an age gap. She has a mafia series, and then this was just a cute one-night stand. But it starts this way. This girl broke up with her fiance because she caught him cheating on her, and she gets talked into her friends to getting a clit piercing. So they go to this tattoo parlor, and she agrees to get a clit piercing. And the guy who's there, she doesn't know this, but he's actually the owner of the parlor / a secret billionaire son / just one of the most famous tattoo artists in like California. And so anyway, so he does her piercing, and he thinks she's really pretty and cute, but of course he has to be professional. He's like, I'm not going to get sued for, being down in someone's business. And then because she wants to see him again, she comes back 2 weeks later to get a tattoo. And she gets this tattoo like right under her boob, like down here. And so after they do a session, which he like has to like fondle her boob a few times, like move it around and everything. And it hurts really bad. And then she comes back a couple weeks later to get the rest of it done. And then they end up having a one-night stand. So this isn't like a stranger one-night stand. This is a, like, we've met each other a few times and the sexual chemistry is building and building, and then they have a one-night stand. And she is the daughter. So this is kind of like her rebellion too, because the fiance she was supposed to marry, he was kind of like picked by her family, and they're very upset that she won't go through it. They're like, doesn't matter if he cheated on you. He's freaking rich. You need to be with him anyway. And she's like, no, I have more respect for myself than that. So screw off, dude. Go away. Good for her. So the last one I'll talk about in this, I mean, really, I have so many one-night stands ones you can talk about, because it's one of the most popular tropes within contemporary romance for sure, just because it's a great way to like have sex be right away in a book, but then still have all the drama that you want to have. Just a tip. The last one I want to talk about is One Moment Please by Amy Dawes. So I actually read a lot of Amy Dawes this summer. She has a really cute series. This is part of a standalone series. This is actually the first one that I read too. Again, this is one where like the couples like add up, so you could read this in order if you want to, but I accidentally read this one first and I wasn't confused. But this is a one-night stand between Lindsay and Josh, and they have this one-night stand and the condom breaks on them, and then like she didn't have his phone number, wasn't going to see him again, and then she goes in thinking she has an allergic reaction to something. Yes, that's what I meant. She has an allergic reaction to something, and so she goes into the ER, and he's the ER doctor that night. So everything's going great, and it's fine. And then when he asks, are you pregnant or could you be pregnant? She's like, actually, I haven't had my period since I had sex with you, so this is kind of awkward. And so then he like gets her a pregnancy test, and they take this pregnancy test there at the ER, and she discovers with him in the room that she's pregnant. So this isn't a secret baby book, because she wasn't keeping it a secret, which I love. Like, I love that it was like secret to both of them, and then she finds out right in front of him because he's the ER doctor there. So what an awkward way to find out that you're pregnant, and not only pregnant, but pregnant with your one-night stands, baby. So it was really cute though. Josh is also, he's a grumpy hero, and he comes off as a bit of a jerk, but it's definitely because he's a grumpy hero, and it's adorable. So there you go. That was some really fast talking that I did. I hope you're having a wonderful Labor Day weekend if you live in the US. And like I said, enjoy some more. I'll have some more recommendation videos coming up this week. And then my weekly wrap-up won't be going up till Tuesday, because I won't get back until late on Monday night, and then I'll have to film it. So it'll be great. I can't wait. Thanks so much for watching. I put up my videos 3 to 4 times a week, and you can watch some more of them right now. Bye.